10 Disturbing True Airport Horror Stories. Untold Fears. Intro. Narrator tone. Airports, places of arrivals and departures, where emotions are high, and thousands of strangers cross paths every hour. But hidden beneath the bright lights, the long queues, and the seemingly endless announcements, are dark, bone-chilling experiences that travelers have carried with them for years. These are not just rumors or urban legends. These are real, disturbing true horror stories that happened in airports across the world. Tonight, we step into that liminal space, between flight and safety, between normalcy and nightmare. Here are 10 disturbing true airport horror stories. Story 1. The Man Who Vanished in the Restroom. A businessman traveling through Chicago O'Hare stopped at a restroom before his red-eye flight. His coworker waited outside, but after 20 minutes, he didn't return. Thinking he might be ill, the coworker went inside. Every stall was empty. They called security, footage was pulled, but the cameras showed him entering the restroom and never coming out. No trace, no exit. His luggage was still at the gate. The man has never been found. Story 2. The Screaming Gate at Heathrow. At London Heathrow, gate staff and night shift cleaners swear by a chilling legend. At around 3 a.m., when the terminal is nearly silent, a blood-curdling scream can be heard echoing through one particular gate. In 2012, a cleaner fainted after hearing it, swearing she saw a woman in 1950s clothing staring at her. Later research revealed a woman had once jumped from a boarding bridge at that exact spot, decades earlier. Story 3. The Passenger Who Boarded Twice. A traveler in Delhi recalls boarding his flight after security. As he sat down, he noticed the man beside him looked pale and nervous. The flight was delayed, and eventually, passengers were asked to deboard for a security sweep. Back in the terminal, the same man was sitting at another gate, except his clothing had changed, and he looked slightly different. Confused, the traveler never saw him again on the flight. The airline claimed no record of the man existed. Story 4. The Empty Terminal at Denver. One woman described being rerouted to Denver International during a snowstorm. She swears the airline escorted her to a temporary terminal through a side corridor. The place was eerily empty, dimly lit, and filled with long, endless hallways. A single attendant checked her ticket and sent her to wait. Hours later, another staff member arrived, horrified, asking how she'd gotten there. That part of the airport had been closed for years. Story 5. Voices from the Lost Flight. At an airport in South America, air traffic controllers report hearing strange radio interference during night shifts. One particularly chilling case in 2005 had multiple staff members claim they heard the frantic distress calls of a flight that had crashed in the 1970s. The voices repeated the same desperate words, looped like a broken recording, before fading into static. Story 6. The Shadow in the Jet Bridge. A flight attendant recalls preparing passengers for boarding when she noticed a tall shadow figure standing at the end of the jet bridge. She thought it was another crew member, but as people approached, it vanished. Several passengers complained of an unsettling coldness while walking through that bridge. Later that evening, the attendant learned that months prior, someone had collapsed and died in that exact spot. Story 7. Sleeping Beside the Wrong Stranger. A stranded traveler at JFK dozed off in a waiting area beside another man. He awoke hours later to find police swarming the area. The man he had been sitting beside was gone, but authorities showed him a photograph of a wanted fugitive, believed to be hiding in the airport. It was the same man he had shared a bench with all night. The fugitive was never caught. Story 8. The Baby That Wasn't There. In Manila's Ninoy Aquino Airport, a couple waiting for their flight heard what sounded like a baby crying near an empty boarding gate. Multiple passengers turned their heads as the cries grew louder, echoing through the hall. Security was called, and a search began, but no child was ever found. Some travelers still swear that, at night, the sound of a crying infant echoes through the walls of that gate. Story 9. The Disappearing Taxi Driver. After landing late at night in Bangkok, a woman hailed a taxi from the airport rank. The driver was silent, his face obscured in the mirror. Halfway to the hotel, she glanced up, and the back seat was empty. The taxi was moving, driverless, cruising down the road. Screaming, she leapt out at a traffic light. Locals later told her of a driver who had died on that exact route while picking up passengers from the airport. Story 10. The Phantom Boarding Call. One of the strangest airport mysteries comes from Atlanta. Multiple travelers report hearing boarding announcements for Flight 370 to destinations that don't exist. People claim they've followed the instructions, wandering into corridors where no flights depart. When they return, staff deny any such announcement was made. One traveler even claimed she saw people boarding, but none ever came back. Outro narrator tone. Airports are strange places, between the living and the departed, between here and there. Thousands of souls pass through daily, and perhaps, not all of them have moved on. So next time you're stuck on a layover, wandering those long corridors at 2 a.m., listen closely. Because sometimes, the scariest part of travel isn't turbulence or takeoff, it's what lurks in the terminals, waiting, watching, and whispering through the walls.